Hi, everybody. Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping and EFT so you can eliminate self-sabotage and take the action that you want. Before we jumped into today's episode, I wanted to highlight the fact that over the course of the last number of months, on Mondays, this is a normal Wednesday podcast, on Mondays, I have been re-releasing a bunch of old podcasts. And what I've done is I've gone back into the archive and taken the old bonus podcasts and turned them into regular episodes, added some extra content, cleaned them up, made them sound a little better. But the content is really excellent. I've been pleasantly surprised, actually, because some of those podcasts are close to 10 years old, to go back and re-listen to them and see that there's still information that I really believe in and I think is helpful. Because of, and this is a technical thing that you don't need to worry about why, but because of the way that they've been published, they might not be showing up inside of your podcatcher if you are someone who's subscribed to the podcast. So in the 400s, the episodes that are in the 400s and the 380s and 390s, all of the odd number podcasts are these podcasts that have been repurposed that you might have missed along the way. So I'd really encourage you to go to tappingpodcast.com, look at some of those topics and see if any of them resonate with you. I would certainly highlight the one that we released this week on Monday, episode 411. It is one of the most common questions I get all the time. I hear people asking, is it okay if I use the word not when I'm tapping? Aren't I tapping in something bad? Or what if the subconscious mind doesn't hear the word not? And so I go through the way that I approach the word not, the scientific research around what the subconscious mind does, and this will help you to be more effective with your tapping. So tappingpodcast.com, check out episode 411 or all of the other odd number ones in the last 30 or so. There's lots of really good content there. This is Gene Montrose-Deli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 412, originally aired December 11th, 2019. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we're going to talk about and even do a little tapping around the idea of having to deal with the same issue over and over again. Before we do that, I want to thank all of the amazing sponsors of the Tapping Q&A podcast. They make it possible for you to get this amazing free content every single week. This week, I'd like to specifically thank Taya Bella. She is the most recent supporter of the podcast. Because of her support and many others, you keep getting this content. And all of our supporters get amazing bonuses, audios, some time to work with me, all sorts of goodness. So if you'd like to become a supporter of the podcast, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/support. And every single month, we take 10% of the contribution to the podcast, and we actually re-lend it out through an organization called Kiva. They do micro loans to people all over the world. This month, we're actually supporting Helen. Helen is a farmer in Kenya, and the money she is using from the loan is to buy some seeds so that she can grow better, more sustainable crops based on the environment she's in. So that means the people who are supporting the podcast not only are allowing you to hear this, but they're also supporting small business owners all over the world. Again, if you'd like to support the podcast, tappingqa.com/support. I hear this a lot from my clients where we're working on an issue and they're like, Gene, I can't believe it. We're tapping on this again. I feel so stuck. It's the same issue over and over again. And I can appreciate this concern because when we're investing time and money, if we're hiring a practitioner and energy in doing personal development work, we want to feel like we are moving forward. So it is a good investment of our time and our attention. And it is really easy for us to feel like we are not making progress. And there are two reasons why this is the case. The first reason why this is the case is that pain and discomfort of any sort, physical pain, emotional pain, discomfort, displeasure of any sort, is something that is relative. And what that means is that the way we evaluate something is happening inside of the context in which we are in. And so pain, and this is an example I give a lot, pain is a perfect way of looking at it. So let's say that I have a knee pain that on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most pain, that I am at a 7. and I do some tapping, and that pain goes from a 7 to a 3. Now, obviously, I'm going to be really happy with that because more than half of the pain is gone, which means my mobility improves, my discomfort goes down, I'm able to focus, all of those good things that come from that. And I wake up tomorrow morning and the pain is a 3, and I'm really happy that the pain is only a 3. And I wake up the next day and the pain is a 3, and I'm really happy it's a 3. And I wake up the next day and my knee hurts. And that's what I notice. Because I've become disconnected from the fact that it went from a 7 to a 3, where it's a reduction. Now I'm only noticing the way that it's getting in the way. So even though I have improved the issue by more than half, as time passes, the new normal becomes the normal, and all I notice about it is what is wrong. And so on that 4th and 5th day, it's really easy for me to think, oh, my knee hurts. My knee always hurts. I can't believe my knee always hurts. And it's really easy for me to dismiss the progress I've made, and in some cases, even dismiss the protocol, like tapping in this case, that's helped me get to that point. And so even though it feels like we're dealing with the same issue, we're dealing with it in a new way, but because of the context, we don't realize we're really dealing with it in a new way. So that's the first reason why it feels like we keep doing the same thing over and over again. The second way, and this is the other one, and this is the bigger one that my clients deal with, is oftentimes healing feels like a spiral staircase. And this is what I mean by that. If you're looking at someone who's walking up a spiral staircase, but you're looking at them from above, what it looks like is they're just walking in a circle. Because from above, we have no sense of going up and down. They're just going around and around and around. But if you're looking at someone who's walking up the spiral staircase from the side, we see that they are ascending. And so when we combine those two things, moving around and moving up, what we notice is we keep passing through the same spot on that circle, but we're passing through it on a different point. And oftentimes when we are dealing with issues, that's exactly what happens. I might keep bumping into issues of self-esteem. And so it feels like I'm always dealing with the same problem of self-esteem. But if I'm doing healing work, I am moving up that spiral staircase. So I'm going through the self-esteem issue at a different level in a different context. To think about it a different way, let's say that I am afraid of public speaking. And in the beginning, I'm so afraid of public speaking, I can't even speak up in a team meeting. Now I do some tapping and some work, and all of a sudden I'm comfortable speaking in a team meeting, but I'm not comfortable leading that team meeting. I do some more tapping. I'm now comfortable leading the team meeting, but I'm not comfortable standing up in front of a group of people, maybe 25 of them giving a presentation. Do some more tapping. I'm comfortable standing in front of 25 people, but standing in front of 150 people is really scary. And so forward, and the crowds get larger and larger as we tap. And so at every single point in that little story, I'm afraid of speaking in public. And so it would be really easy for me to say, I'm not getting any better. I'm always afraid of speaking in public. But the context keeps changing. First, I'm speaking up, then I'm leading, then I'm standing in front of the room, then I'm standing in front of a larger room. So even though the fear is exactly the same, I'm dealing with it on a different level. So I keep going up that spiral staircase. I keep passing through afraid of speaking in public, but I'm higher up on that staircase because the group is larger and I am in more control. And so it's really important for us to remember this fact when we are doing transformational work, because it's good for us to recognize and celebrate the progress we've made, one, so that we can really appreciate that and see that progress is happening. And two, so it continues to provide a motivation and a catalyst for us to keep doing that work because we see the change that is happening. It's easy for me to keep investing time and energy and caring for myself if I'm seeing the direct benefit of that in the outcome of my life. So it's just a very, very simple framework. It's not a complicated concept for us to understand. But for me, it's good to keep that in the front of my mind, to remind myself that this is a healing process. And as it's a healing process, it's going to It's not that I'm dealing with the same issue, but sometimes our issues rhyme with each other. That it's similar to the point that last time, but it's easy for us to make that mistake, that similarity as being the exact same thing. So I oftentimes just take a little time when I'm tapping at the beginning or the end of a session to remind myself this is a healing process. It's easy for me to miss the progress because my transformation is relative. My experience of discomfort is based on context. But if I take a step back and I look at all of the change that has happened, it's good for me to recognize that. By remembering that, I start off when I work with a client over a long period of time. One of the first things we do in our very first meeting is I talk about, hey, it is going to be really easy for you 4 or 5 sessions from now to think we haven't made progress, and this is the reason why. So I'm pre-framing that when I'm working with clients, and I do that little tapping when I'm tapping on my own to make it easier for me to move forward in a way that is thoughtful and deliberate. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the spiral staircase of healing and why it feels like we're dealing with the same issues over and over again. If you have an analogy or a framework that you use to help yourself to move through this, I would love to hear that. You can leave a comment on the website or shoot me an email, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. Or if this is something that is not helpful, I'd love to hear that as well, just so I can continue to tweak and refine the way that I'm being helpful to my clients, because your experience is something that is useful for me. If you know someone in your life who could use this, please pass this along. The fastest way that other people find content is from the recommendation of a friend. It would mean the world to me if you would pass it along. If every single person listening to this shared it with one other person, then we would be doubling the healing power of simple tools like this. And when the people in your life are healthier, that healing and happiness ripples out and it makes it easier for all of us. And I know how cheesy, and I say this every week, I know how cheesy that sounds, but we also know on a very base level it's true, that the people around us impact the world around us. The happier they are, the healthier they are, the better the world it is for all of us. And if this is a resource that might make that possible, please pass that along. Questions, comments. I love hearing from listeners just like you. I can always be reached, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. If you're on the website, click on that contact link. If you're in the free Tapping Q&A app, which is audios and close to 100 tapping scripts now that are all free, just hit that contact link inside of the app. You can reach me. If you don't have the app, you can find the app just by searching Tapping Q&A in both the Android and Apple app stores. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast. And podcasting parlance, subscribing to a podcast is free. You are not paying for the subscription. And what this does is it makes sure that you get delivered instantly the new episodes each time they come out, so you don't miss some good tapping content that could make a difference for you. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover in the future, if you'd like me to interview someone, let me know. I love hearing listener suggestions. After the first year, we're going to have a bunch of new interviews in the podcast feed. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli, Tapping Q&A 2016. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli or Tapping Q&A.